Hi everyone. In this tutorial, I'll show you how to quickly transfer fine details from scans to wrap models without manual cleanup, suitable for processing a large number of expressions. So, let's get started. We have prepared 54 scans of our actor in advance. Select all of the scans and load them into our project as a sequence. Let's turn off wireframe. We also have pre-wrapped and clean geometry. Let's select all the files as well and load them as a sequence. I'm going to press F2 and rename the node to Wrap Mesh. I'll also rename it to Scan. Now for each frame, we have a scan and its corresponding wrapped model. When comparing the wrap model with the scan, we see the wrap model is accurate but lacks details. The scan has detailed information, but is noisy. Increasing subdivision during wrapping could help, but it's resource intensive and requires significant cleanup. Instead, we will show how to transfer scan's details to every wrapped mesh automatically. Let's use the subdivision node to increase mesh density. To transfer the details, let's use the Project Geom node. Connect our wrap model as the source geometry and our scan as the target geometry. With wireframe off, we can see more detail, but also more projection artifacts. There are many artifacts on the back of the model. This happens because there aren't enough scanning cameras from behind. First, we'll remove these artifacts. To do that, we draw a vertex mask. It's easier to draw a mask on an expression with an open mouth. I'll choose jaw open for that. Let's subdivide it as well. This is what it looks like. Create a vertex mask node, press F2, and rename it to head back. Connect it to the Project Geom node. No mask is drawn yet, so nothing has changed. Open Visual Editor. Detach this panel and position it next to our 3D viewport. Enable Use Geodesic Distance. Switch to Topological Symmetry mode. Then I need to increase radius and intensity. Start painting the mask. We'll immediately see artifacts disappearing. I'll need to paint more here. Areas we paint will stop projecting. I'll also include the ears, as well as the lower part of the neck. You can hold the right mouse button and drag left to reduce the radius. Hold the middle mouse button and drag left to reduce the intensity. You can always find the shortcut keys here. Let's include the chin, and the temples. Alright, we've masked areas containing projection noise. Hold Shift and drag right, choosing a smooth iterations. Hold Shift again while drawing for a smoother transition. This may take some time. Now, switching between frames, we see artifacts removed from the back, but still present on the front. Eyes, eyebrows, mouth, nose. Let's copy the head back node. Press Ctrl-Shift-V to paste it while maintaining inputs. Press F2 and rename it to eyes. Now we can clear the current selection. Instead of one mask, let's merge several simultaneously. use Merge Vertex Mask, connect static geometry jaw open, use head back as a primary mask and eyes as a secondary mask. Connect the merge result to project geom. Now we can start painting the mask for the eyes. First, I'll mask the eye sockets. The radius is a bit small, so I'll make it larger. I'll also increase the intensity. The artifacts begin to fade. This part may take more care. I'll lower the radius to work more precisely in this area. You can hold Shift and gently move the mouse side to side to blur the mask edges. Let's switch to another frame. We might see some artifacts here as well. I'll reduce the intensity and slightly expand the mask around the eye edges and near the nose. Looks better. Some artifacts remain, but I'll show you how to fix them later. If we switch between frames, we can see a cleaner model now. Let's compare before and after creating the masks. Similarly, we should now create masks for eyebrows and nostrils. To save time, I'll insert pre-drawn masks, and I'll connect them. Here's how they look. Artifacts are reduced further, and the eyebrows and nostril areas are now much cleaner. Let's organize our project better since there are many similar nodes. Select them and press Ctrl-Shift-G to group. Next, we don't want to project details into the inner mouth. Instead of a vertex mask, using select polygons will be easier here. Connect it to jaw open. I'll turn on wireframe. First, let's separate the corners of the lips. We can hold Shift and double-click to create a loop. Then I'll press plus mirror. Let's hide the selection so we can isolate the corners. Now we can create another loop on the lower and upper lips. Let's hide it again to focus on the problem area. We can select everything except this part. Finally, let's unhide all to bring the mouth back and invert the selection. To avoid artifacts, let's make grow. This is our mask for the socket. Currently, it's polygonal selection. Convert it to a vertex mask using the polygon selection to vertex mask. Then connect it. We can create modified vertex masks to blur mask borders. Switch to Laplacian smoothing mode. I set the iterations to 5. Let's increase the neighbor's depth. That works well for a soft mask in my case. Then connect it to the main merge. Instead of jaw open, I'll use the current wrapped model. We can see that many artifacts around the mouth are gone, but this mask doesn't fit all expressions simultaneously. In this frame, we want to project lip details clearly. However, in another case, lips are curled inwards, requiring a wider mask. Or here, a looser mask is needed to project more lip details. Therefore, we must dynamically redraw this mask for each expression. We have 54 of them. Let's use a trick to solve this. Create GenerateVertexMask. Instead of one static expression, I'll use the current wrap model selected on the timeline. This node works in ambient occlusion mode. Change accumulation to select if at least one sample. This will fill the mesh entirely if at least one ambient occlusion ray hits geometry. I enable limit disks to limit how far the rays go. I'll set max disk to 0.3, which equals 0.3 centimeters. I use 45 degrees for the max angle. You can try other values if needed. Ambient occlusion rays now capture fewer unnecessary vertices. The mask highlights only potentially problematic areas, but using this mask directly is too harsh. I'm going to add a Modify Vertex Mask node. I'll set it to 2 iterations to expand the mask. This helps it cover more. Next, I add another Modify Vertex mask. This time, Location Smoothing mode. Here, I'll use 3 iterations and set the neighbor depth to 2. That gives us a wider and softer result. Connect the result to Merge Vertex Mask. We automatically create a mask constraint to prevent projecting onto problematic areas. Disable the mask and compare before and after. Our procedural mask eliminates manual projection cleanup. Let's test this approach on the curled lips expression. Notice the mask expands, making curled lips look correct. The mask also excludes pore projections and eye folds. The result looks correct, adding significant details to various facial areas. Looking at another expression, notice the nasolabial fold is masked and excluded from the projection. But comparing with no mask, projecting the nasolabial fold seems safe. To address this, we'll add another vertex mask to limit the GenerateVertexMask area. Let me copy a pre-made mask. Here's how it looks. Now we find the intersection of our generate mask with this constraint. Let's use Merge Vertex Mask. We'll input our constraint as the primary mask and the generate vertex as the secondary mask. Input our static geometry jaw open and choose the multiply mode. Instead of the full generate vertex mask, now use it with the new constraints. Great, here's the result. We can see the difference now. Check additional examples to confirm everything works well. Compare geometry before and after projecting details onto wrap models. Without our masks, projections look like this. That's all for this tutorial. We've learned how to quickly transfer details from scans to wrap models using vertex masks and procedural masks without manual cleanup. Thanks for watching, and see you in the next video.